You are listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com, or watch us live on your smart TV on YouTube under WCEG Network. I'm Wardell Richardson, your host right here on WCEGWood, the Hollywood of the South, for the next hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio. That's WCEG_talk_radio. And at WCEG Network. That's WCEG Network. Last but not least, topics and opinions of those of the show hosts and guests and not those of WCEG Network. Thanks for your continued support. I am Wardell Richardson, host of WCEGWood, Hollywood of the South, actor, producer, director, writer, CEO of Rain Dance Films, and I am happy to be here today. This month is a special month. This month is the month of domestic violence awareness, and I have a wonderful guest that's going to be on the show here in a little bit. Her name is Rhonda Anita. I've known her for a while. She has an amazing story, a very powerful woman, and does a lot in the community. So I can't wait to bring her on here in a little bit. Before I get started, of course, I want to give some updates. Please, 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 everyone, go out and vote. It is time to vote. The early bird voting process has started. I've had several people already call me and tell me they went to vote. I haven't got a chance to vote yet. I should have went today, but I didn't get a chance to get around to doing it. So I will be trying to get in there sometime next week to get my vote in. It is very, very imperative that you vote. If you have not yet seen all the commercials and different avenues from radio to TV, everything that's been going on in the media about the voting, you are missing out. You're sleeping under a rock because it is quite a battle going on out there right now. We have some very powerful people running for office, and we have some people that are a little bit suspect, so, that I'm going to say. I'm always 100 with you guys. I'm always going to be real. I'm not happy with a couple of the candidates, but, it is what it is. And we have to do what we have to do as a community to make sure we vote and put the right people in place. So if you have not voted, please put in your brain, put it in your mind, get yourself together and go down and vote. It is very, very imperative that you do. I am a huge advocate of it, and I feel like if the more people that vote, the more our voice is heard. And trust and believe, with all the different things that's going on in the world today, it is very imperative that we start taking an initiative to control who is running our government, period. That's just the way it is. And the problem with us getting all these corrupt people in our government and people who don't even really care about the statute of what's going on in our community, in our government, is because we fail as a people to go out and vote and get the right people in office. So please go out, vote, let your voices be heard. It is very, very imperative. This is a very important time in our government, and we need you guys to go out and vote. I'm going to say it over and over again throughout today on the show, because we definitely need people to go out and vote. If you don't know how to go to vote, make sure you go online, research, put in your address. I think there's a link online where you can go and put in your address, and it'll tell you where the polls are, where you can go and vote in your area. You should have by now, because of what's going on, everyone should have did some research if you're looking to vote, to know exactly where your poll is to go and vote. So please do that research. Take the time. Everybody's on their phone. Every time I turn around, somebody's on their phone doing whatever on social media. take a few minutes, Google your local poll station and go and vote. It is very, very easy to do. You can go to www.sos.gov to see where your polling place is. www.sos.georgia.gov, and you can find out where your closest polling place is. And that's all I'm gonna say on that for right now, but I will be bringing that up again pretty soon. Well, let me go on and say this. The last day to register to vote was October 11th. So if you haven't registered yet, it's too late. So hopefully you went out and voted. The election day and last day to vote is November the 8th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you don't know, Stacey Abrams is running for governor, Raphael Warnock for Senate re-elect. On the Democratic Party, you got Brian Kemp running for governor and Herschel Walker for Senate for the Republican side. Now, I'm a Democrat, that's all I'm gonna say. Make sure you go out and vote for Stacey Abrams, man. She is doing her thing. She knows what she wants for the community. Just please go out and vote and get the right people in office. We need to change what's going on here in Georgia in our government. It's very, very important. Without further ado, also, let me say this. If you have not yet went out and tried to support your boy, go out and support me on Amazon Prime. I have several movies that are on Amazon Prime right now. I'm sorry, my screen just went crazy. I have several movies on Amazon Prime right now that are doing really well. The 30-Day Rule is one. It's a romantic comedy. Go out and check that out. It's an incredible film. I've gotten a lot of calls about it. I love it. It's funny. It was a fun film to shoot. So make sure you check that out. Greed is an action film. Make sure you go and check that out. Addiction by Subtraction is a psychological film. Check that out. Make sure you see that from the beginning. And you may want to watch that a couple times because it is a lot to it. It's talking about the id, superego, and the ego. And if you don't know what that is, you may want to research those things before you even decide to watch that movie. But let me just say that to you. It is a very, very technical film. One of my hardest films that I shot in my career. With the late, great Tommy Ford, who was a really good friend of mine, miss him dearly. He was in that film project that I did. Also, I did a domestic violence film called The Last Time. And we shot that. It's been 6 years that we shot that project. I just happened to look 6 years since we shot The Last Time project, which was, it took the U.S. by storm. Literally, that thing got around the country within weeks. We had several people reach out to us about it. It's an award-winning film project starring myself and Reese Odom. I was one of the producers of the film as well. And not only that, but our very own Rhonda Anita, who is going to be my guest on the show, had a part in that film as well. So make sure I'm gonna reach out to Tiffany Hill and see where you can go and see that film project at. It was aired on TV. It did 3 years. It has been removed since then. She was talking about putting it on the website soon so that people can go and see it at this specific website. So I have to reach out to her and see where we can see it at. But if I get enough people to hit me up, I can try to set up some type of premiere here in Atlanta where people can see it who haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, it's a magnificent, magnificent film. One of my favorite, best film projects that I've done. I play an awful person in the film, but please understand that was just acting. But it was an amazing film project. I loved every moment of filming it. It was shot in a matter of a couple of weeks, and we went hard on that film. I had an amazing time working with Reese Odom. who is a phenomenal actress doing her thing right now on several TV outlets in Atlanta. So shout out to her. And it's going to be an amazing film if you haven't seen it yet. So without getting too deep into it, once again, Domestic Violence Awareness Month is right here, right now, the month of October. And I have a few things that I research. People who don't know, please understand that I am a researcher. I love to research things because I like to know things for myself. Because a lot of people say stuff, and it's not that I don't believe people and I don't believe what people say. I just like to know for myself. I like to understand things and make sure I have a grasp on exactly what's going on. Because it's like when people say stuff and they tell the next person, by the time you get to the last person, the whole story is different. I don't know. I played that game when I was a kid, and that is a very true statement to make, because by the time the last person get that story, it is a whole different story. But there are different forms of domestic violence. I looked it up. There are 8 major forms of domestic violence that all fall into a category. And the first one that they talk about is stalking. That is following, surveilling, contacting, or harassing a person against their will in a way meant to threaten or intimidate. Criminal damage to property, destroying or damaging personal belongings, regardless of whether the damage was intended. Unlawful restraint, kidnapping and physically restraining the victim or refusing to allow them to leave their home or property. Criminal trespassing, knowingly interfering with or preventing someone from using property or possessions. Simple battery, intentional physical contact meant to insult or provoke. Battery, intentionally causing substantial physical harm. Simple assault, attempting to cause violent injury to another. Aggravated assault, attempting to murder, rape, or rob another while using a gun, knife, or other type of weapon. Those are 8 different forms of domestic violence. And I always keep things 100. Out of those 8 different forms of domestic violence, I have experienced 7 of those. As a man, I have experienced 7 of those different forms of domestic violence, which is, when you sit down and you think, when I read this, I started thinking about things that happened in the past, all kind of stuff that you don't even think was violent. When people go into the silent mode, and when people do certain things to try to antagonize you in a way to push you or provoke you to be a certain kind of way. I had no idea that was a form of violence, but it is. It's a form of violence. And so many people do that, and I'm not saying like if someone is annoying you and you're ignoring them and they're not in the same household or anything like that. Like if you're out on the street and somebody doing something crazy and you walk away, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're in a household and you're with someone you're living with, whether it's your wife, your children, your brother, sister, whoever those people are, different things to that capacity is a form of violence, domestic violence. And I didn't know that. So that was something that I read about, didn't quite understand it at first. Then I started looking back and reading more. Wow, this is crazy, because so many people do that. And there are also different statistics that are out there about what's going on in domestic violence. I'm still waiting on Rhonda Anita to get on. She will be on shortly. She got held up for a second. So I just want to run through some of these statistics here real quick. By the way, before I get too deep into it, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-7233. And you can smart text to 88878. I think that's what it was. I got Penny, if everybody know Penny's running everything in the back. She's doing her thing and sending me messages and stuff. So I appreciate her because she's always on top of everything. But you can text SMART, SMART, to 888-788. That's SMART to 888-788. And Rhonda is ready to come on. Rhonda, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am wonderful. I'm wonderful. I've been sitting here. I was just about to go through some statistics.
Well, go ahead. I appreciate. I was listening in and I heard a lot that you shared, and definitely want to congratulate you for being willing to share a bit of your story, because we don't hear from the men, right? We think that this epidemic is all. Which one of us? Turn mine? Okay. Is that better? Okay. Do we want my camera there? Okay, great. All right. So we all think that this, only affects women and children. It affects women and children more because we hear from women and children more, right? So I just definitely want to commend you for sharing in that capacity, because it's important for men to speak up. They say 85% of women experience domestic violence in their lifetime and 15% men, but we all know it has to affect men a little bit more than that. It's just that they're not reporting it.
That's true. And, I want you, well, you know what? We're going to get deeper into this. Before we get too deep in it, I want people to know a little bit about who you are. Okay. So give us a little history of Rhonda Anita and how you got to the point to where you are the CEO or founder of the Rose of Sharon Domestic Violence Agency.
Absolutely. I am the CEO and founder of Rose of Sharon.
Well, there you go.
What started my journey? So I am I like to call myself an overcomer of domestic violence. I've experienced physical violence from my mother, sexual violence from my father, and then multiple intimate partner of violent relationships. An intimate partner, it falls under the umbrella of domestic violence when you were giving the different types. We have, familia, which is any other family member like my mom and dad, but then intimate partners when you get into a romantic relationship with someone. Excuse me, my story started very early. I found myself in different situations, same person, different man. His body, the body just changed, but it was the same type of spirit, because I was raised in violence, right? So when you are raised in violence, they say you will either become an abuser, you will become a victim, or you can become an advocate. And I think I probably experienced a little bit of all of that, right? So when I did that, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and one of my colleagues back home had started an organization called Brothers Against Domestic Violence. Okay. And what they were men who went and escorted women to court to file their restraining order. They were bodybuilders. And so I was the only female escort. So it was all men and I was the only female. So obviously I operated in an administrative role, but then also I was one of the female bodyguards. And what we would do was escort women to court to file their restraining order. And the reason we started doing that was because a lady had been murdered in my hometown at the courthouse while filing a restraining order against her abuser. And so, yeah, that's what brought that organization about. And so from there, I went and did more training, learned more training. I worked for
Right.
Sojourner Truth House in Milwaukee on the crisis line. And also I did intake at the shelter. And from there, when I relocated here, I just realized there still was a need. Our organization currently bridges the gap. So we provide supportive services to families that are getting out of domestic violence, and we're more on a referral basis. But we provide any service that's going to help them get over from one phase of escaping to the next. We partner with the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence here in Atlanta. We get a lot of our technical training from them, a lot of support, and a lot of support from the coalition. So doing some great things with them as well. But yeah, so that's how I got started. I started out being someone who was going through it and realized that, God wanted me to do more.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to when you was going through it. I read that a woman will say, I'm leaving, or attempt to leave a situation 7 to 8 times, something like that, before they actually say, okay, I'm out of here. Were you going through that same routine?
No, I didn't. That wasn't my story. And so when they say that story, is statistically overall, women in general will leave about 7 to 8 times before they actually leave.
Okay.
The reason for that is because the woman, and we're speaking of women today, but again, as I mentioned earlier, domestic violence affects men as well. But today, for the sake of the exercise, we're speaking about women. Typically, they will, try to leave, hoping that it will get better. The object is not to break up the family. The object is to stop the abuse. So and then there's a wheel, right? There's a cycle. And in this wheel, it talks about, the honeymoon phase. So basically when she leaves, he comes back, he's giving flowers, he's giving gifts, and he's drawing her back in, and she comes back and the abuse starts over again.
Right.
Couple of things I want to say about when a woman leave. Well, first, before I talk about leaving, let me go back to you gave some examples of types of domestic violence, but what is domestic violence? Domestic violence is it's one's ability to gain or maintain power and control. So it is all about, that's why it's not always physical, and physical violence happens after the mental violence has taken place. Yes. The way that the abuser is able to hone in and prey on their victim is to kind of chisel away that self-esteem, make that victim rely on them so much that they start to isolate them from their friends and family. And in isolating them from their friends and family, they become codependent on this abuser. So leaving is very hard. A lot of times people ask, why don't she leave? Well, let's ask, why does he abuse? That, asking why don't she leave is, okay, leave and go where? Where's she gonna go when all of her family, nobody wants her there because he's ruined the family relationship. He's ruined the relationship, or he knows where she works at. So how can she leave and go to work and be safe knowing that he could come up to the job anytime? But when a woman is leaving, when she is making the decision to leave, it is very imperative that she does it in a very calculated fashion. Why? Yes. Because she is trying to pull back that power and control, thus making the abuser more angry, more violent. And ultimately, when you hear women that end up to the demise of domestic violence because they either said, I'm leaving, or they have left. And you have ignited this monster in a person, and no, you're not going to take the power and control back. I'm going to take it back. If I can't have you, nobody can have you, and they can lose their life. So leaving is got to be something very well thought out, planned, and calculated in order to do it in a safe way that won't cause complete harm to that woman and her family.
And a lot of times the reason why a woman stays is because of the kids or like you said, they don't have nowhere to go, because usually an abuser would try to destroy her relationships, like you said, so no one wants to deal with her, because then they have to deal with him. And he knows that, so he meticulously try to destroy those different relationships. And that's a very good point that you touched on when you said that. Now, what is the process? So if a woman who is going through a situation was to contact you, what would be the first conversation you would have with her to understand what was going on in that situation?
Before I answer that question, let me also say there's many reasons why she won't leave too. It may be finances, because one of the other control factors is financial abuse, where this person is controlling the finances, but then also not having anywhere to go. I like that question. Thank you, Wardell. No one has asked me that question, but let me tell you, when I'm on the phone with a family, I listen first. I listen because I need to know that she's ready to go. Because like you said, 7 or 8 times, unfortunately, you can find me very easily, right? So if he gets wind to my name and number in her phone because she did not leave, I could be potentially putting myself and my family at risk. So I personally will coach and I will communicate with this woman until she's ready, but I will allow her to talk. If I can hear that she's not ready yet, I just figure out, how can I help you in the season? And when you're ready, I'll be here. But I don't put myself in jeopardy going out, because I used to do that. I used to do that. I used to be like, oh, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. And I found one lady I was helping. I helped her a couple of times. In this last particular time, she came to my house to get food. Well, her abuser was in the car.
Oh.
Outside my house. And at the time I was married, and my ex-husband said, you can never bring anyone here again. I know what you're trying to do, but you can't do that. And so I had to take it a step further, because I have the ability to go all the way in, and I'm knowing easily you can, Google me, and now I'm at jeopardy because your dude knows who I am and he wants to stop me from stopping you from leaving. So I listen in the conversation just to hear if she's ready to leave, or if she's just desperate because she needs food, or she needs money, or and if it is something that she needs that I can get it to her, I will get it to her. But if she's not talking, leaving, and how I know that, if I make a suggestion, okay, I got this shelter for you in Griffin, Georgia. Can you get there? No, I can't get there. Well, can you get Midway? Then I can come get you and take you. No. And then I'm hearing excuses why we can't go. I know you're not ready to go. Because if you know that your life is on the line, if you know that your children's life is on the line, you will go anywhere by any means necessary. You will not sit back and try to keep a couch. You're not going to try to sit back and keep clothes. You're willing to walk away from it all. And if I don't hear that type of urgency in your voice, then I will help you get to the next point. So you can call me later, but I'm not putting my physical self in jeopardy going out to help.
And I think that's very important that you said that, because, and what you said about your husband, because as a man, we're protected. We're supposed to protect the family and stuff. And you have to be careful about who you bring into your space, and I would say this to him all the time, like, look, be careful about how you talk to people and stuff, because when you do certain things, you put me in the situation. So I appreciate you saying that. I wanted to go through some statistics. I was just about to do that before you had got on. So feel free to jump in when I say anything that you want to talk about. More than 1 in 3 women, 35.6%, and more than 1 in 4 men, 28.5% in the U.S. will experience rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime.
And 1 in 3 youth.
And see, they didn't put the youth on here. That is,
isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
And
That's
we're talking
crazy.
12 to 24 years old is the prime targeted group.
Right.
And so we talk about the adults, and but if we can try to combat some of this with our youth ahead of time, then maybe they won't become that statistic at the male and female, or the man and woman as adults, as you just mentioned.
And it's interesting that you brought up the kids, because I also saw on here 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to these violence. Mm-hmm. So when kids are sponges, they take in whatever they see, which is when people argue and fight. Those kids, they internalize that stuff. It start becoming a part of them, and they start thinking that that's what relationships are about. That's what that's how you handle that. If he see a man hitting on a woman, that's how he gonna think he should be when he's with his woman. So I definitely think that is a very important part, because it starts with our youth. Because they're growing up and having to see all of this, and people are creating monsters. They're creating people who will be victims, because some women feel. I ran into a woman. This happened only one time in my life, where she felt like she needed to be hit, and if I didn't, or any man didn't hit her, then that meant they didn't love her.
Yeah, that's an old school mentality. It used to be that way. It used to be that way. That's
crazy.
Yeah, but
there's no love in that.
Unfortunately, the time before you and I, before our generation, that was if he puts his hands on you, then that means he loves you. He's trying to keep you. He's trying to control you because you belong to him. But at the end of the day, what does that do? That creates generational cycles of this. And so I had mentioned it earlier that, when you're seeing abuse, you're either become an abuser, you will become a victim, and some people have become advocates. I know people who were child witnesses of domestic violence, and instead of becoming one or the others, they became an advocate, which is good, but that's a very rare population. Usually the victim or abuser is what they become. But let's also think about the marinade of the man. And again, I just want to say this because men, every time I'm speaking, there's a man that's saying, well, men get abused too. I have addressed that. We're talking about women today because more women are reporting domestic violence than men. So we are speaking to the majority according to statistics today. Not that men don't get abused as well, or manipulated, fall under the umbrella of power and control through physical violence from a female. So just want to give that people that out there, so people won't say, why she keep talking about women. But I do want to say, in this context, as it relates to a man, the things that they go through, they have not all men, but men that are abusing women are in this place that they have either seen it happen, or they have a lot of anger inside of them that comes out later. You just think about the NFL players that have gone through, they may not have even gone through domestic violence, but because they suffered from the concussions, or men coming from military suffering from PTSD become abusers as well. So this internal negative energy and pain that a lot of men are suffering with have then turned it over on their families, and may never have even come from an abusive situation. So it's not every abuser comes from an abusive family. it could just be the fact that they have, some anger and aggression that has come from other facets of life, or not being told that he was special as a kid from his father, or shown that good father figure in how to love a woman. And so you're doing it the best way you know how, that ends up hurting her in the end. So, our men are dealing with some unresolved issues, some unresolved trauma that is being taken out on their wives and their children.
Yeah, that's true. And also, the men who, I have to say this because I've experienced a lot of things, and I think a lot of times the men who are abused don't come forth is because, people are supposed to look at them as this powerful person, as this man of strength. I remember a time where I called the police, told police what was happening, and they literally laughed in my face.
Oh my
And
goodness.
one of the officers said, "Dude, you six what? You," and I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? If you're not gonna help me, like, what are we doing? And so I think the mentality that the reason a lot of men don't report themselves is because people laugh. People even like the cops shine at them and laugh at them, and they don't support them because they feel like you're supposed to be this big guy and stuff, and you got this little woman over here. Like, what's she gonna do? She can't hurt you. Da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And I've experienced that myself personally. So I just feel like that as a man and as women, we really have to look at our situations. We have to look at ourselves. We have to know that we have a problem first. I'm talking about the people who are abusers. We have to know that we have a problem. And if we have a problem, seek help. A lot of people don't want to see a therapist or anything because they feel like that means they're crazy. And it doesn't mean that you're crazy. That actually means that you see that there's a problem and you need to fix it. So be smart about it, and you don't have to tell the whole world what you're doing, just go it discreetly. Just, hey, I got to go. I got this meet, go and do what you got to do. There's nothing wrong with that, to go and get help. But as, and even women, some women don't even feel like they want to go because it means they're crazy, in their mind, they feel like they're crazy or something. What is it? And how do you feel about getting help? Do you feel like that is something that's necessary in general? Even after they go through a situation, they should get help because they can carry that anger on to somebody else. Just because I've experienced a woman who is a survivor, but then she became an abuser because and she literally said this at a platform. I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. So how important is it for people to get help to prevent from, you see what I'm saying? To prevent from becoming an abuser and to get past going through what you've been through?
Very, very good question. So here's the thing. My faith is everything. My faith in God is everything. And without him, I would not have been able to overcome a lot of things that I went through. So that's my foundation. When I was going through a lot of this stuff, I didn't have any faith. He was there, but I wasn't. So when I did finally get to a place of knowing God for myself, I felt like I prayed all the prayers I can pray.
Right.
I'm good. All that stuff is covered under the blood of Jesus, and I still believe that.
Right.
At the same time, we have wounds, and they are triggered throughout life. Now, I may not need it exactly what I needed back then, but I needed something now. So reflecting on all the failed relationships, I went to therapy. And then when I went to therapy, I said, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
If I would have knew these things about myself sooner, then I could have avoided some other heartache, because what I did find out was that I still ended up in abusive relationships, but they weren't physical. They came in the capacity of mental manipulation.
Yeah.
They came in the capacity of spiritual abuse, where one of my exes, I can't say it out loud now, but one of my exes spiritually abused me with the word of God. Then you have, so the whole mental anguish and all of that we look at the physical abuse, but there's a whole lot happened before we get to that physical abuse. And when we're walking around with unresolved trauma, we think we resolve because we prayed. Prayer is great. I am not taken away from prayer. You need that. I think prayer is what kept me sane.
Right.
Having a relationship with God kept me sane, but he can't heal what you can't reveal. I couldn't reveal that I still had unresolved trauma on the inside of me.
Yeah.
So being able to identify, rejection issues. I got abandonment issues. Where did they come from? And how to deal with them and go back spiritually to deal with them. So here, the spirit is important. Having the spiritual strength to go back and face the wounds that I dealt with and carried is how I was able to get over it. But it was a psychiatrist, my therapist, who helped me to see I still had these wounds. That's why I kept finding myself in unfulfilled relationships. So if you are a male, husband and wife, and you have physical violence in your relationship, marriage counseling is not going to work. Do not attempt it. It is very dangerous if you do, because now you have someone hiding what they really want to say, but the abuser is there trying to control even that environment. So you're not getting any help. That person, there needs to be separate counseling for both. There needs to be counseling and therapy for the person who's receiving the abuse, because here's the thing. I remember saying this years ago. Is it like I got a sign on my head to say, come abuse me? Well, almost. Because there's something unresolved on the inside of you that draws and attracts. And I'm not saying that it was my fault. I'm not saying that it's any victim's fault. But what I am saying is that if you don't heal those wounds, you will continue to attract people that can manipulate them and cut you even deeper, because this thing is spiritual. It's so much more spiritual than it is physical. It happens in the spirit first. So you got someone that is calculated on how to get you away from your family. Mm-hmm. They're paying attention. They ain't touched you yet, but they know they want to keep you in this place. For the abuser, that person needs to go and get some therapy, some anger management. Now, some people believe anger management works and some don't. But I do believe that if this person is honest and wants to be healed and wants help, they will go into therapy saying, I'm an abuser and I don't know how to stop it and I don't know why. They will get whatever the counseling's called. But yes, absolutely. Prayer is amazing. At the same time, we go to the doctor for physicals. Right. We go to the doctor if we hurt our foot. We don't just sit back and pray on that foot. We pray and then we go to the doctor. The same thing we have to do with our mental. Something mentally is wrong with a person that wants to hurt someone else and keep them away from their family and to control them. Something is mentally wrong with them. And then, baby, something is wrong when we continue to receive it. Something is wrong with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go over a couple of more statistics real quick, because these are some really good points that I wanted to bring forth. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the U.S. During 1 year, this adds up to more than 10 million women and men. 20 people per minute. Now, you got to keep in mind, a lot of you people not even reporting it. So it can go that number can be totally different. But the average is 20 people per minute. When I read that, I said, get out of here. Just how it's like the phone ringing back to back to back in 1 minute. You know what I'm saying? That is crazy to me. That's crazy. It says that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. Intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crimes. 15%. I think that is just absolutely crazy.
So one of the statistics that I like to use that brings it home even more, count to 9 with me.
1,
2,
3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Every 9 seconds, a woman is being abused. Every 9 seconds.
That's crazy.
Is fast.
Right.
That is fast. Every 9 seconds, somebody in the U.S. is being abused. Right. And so when we say, it's not our business, it's your business when it comes to your workplace, when someone is coming to look for her or him.
Yeah.
And they got a rifle, a shotgun. Matter of fact, in my hometown, this made national news a couple of years ago. This guy went into a beauty salon and shot it up, trying to get his wife. He killed her. He killed a lot of other people too. So it comes to the workplace. This is definitely your business. And I think it's important for people with businesses and corporations to put together some type of plan in place so their employees can safely report what they're dealing with at home, and so that they can be able to watch out for them when they're leaving the workplace or coming in, and having security available. I worked at a company here in Atlanta. I work for T-Mobile actually. And we were, T-Mobile is on Ashford Dunwoody in one of the Ravinia buildings, very tall, high rise. A lot of businesses are in that building. At the time, one of my coworkers was going through domestic violence and she told me about it. And I said, print out a picture of him. And we went down to security and I took the picture and I said, this guy cannot come in this building. He actually was in the building when I went down. And he was yelling at the top of his lungs. He was gonna, get her or what have you. But I had the picture so that they can have it on the desk for security when he came in. Now, this was a slightly more secure building than your regular mom and pop businesses. But we were able to at least alert everybody at that facility that this man is not supposed to come into the business. And so it's very important, people with businesses and companies, that they do put something in place to be able to educate everybody and make it a safe place for your employees to come and tell you, because he's either going to come there at some point, he's either on his way, or he's contemplating coming because he can't get to her any other place. So every 9 seconds it's happening. So just know during the working hours, people are, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I would just say, what are some signs that you can tell? Because a lot of people don't understand or even know what to look for when a person is going through a situation. What are some signs that people can look for in another person and they can get an idea that they're going through a domestic violence situation?
Well, the obvious physical marks, lack of concentration at the workplace. This person used to be bubbly and excited, and now they're being more recluse, seem a little bit more timid. Their personality is is a little withdrawn, outbursts of crying. You may see them, crying or wearing makeup, trying to cover things up. And again, I'm talking about what you physically can see, but in the behavior, you can see it too. When you're talking to one of your coworkers, you're at lunch, and the coworker is kind of antsy and just like, oh, I got to hurry up and get home. And they seem very agitated that if they don't get home at a certain time, Billy Joe is going to be mad, or they'll kind of give you those kind of clues that, I got to get home. It's almost like I would even wonder if they were on drugs too, because this antsiness, right? This agitation in their body, they don't seem relaxed and comfortable. Not when I say concentration, a lot of errors at work, and a lot of fear is coming out that they're making a lot of mistakes at work and things like that. And again, it doesn't mean that they are being abused, but it's something to just kind of pay attention to. And if you see some of those things, if you genuinely care, because remember I said, this is all of our business. If you genuinely care, finding opportunities to make sure that they feel safe to come and talk to you, or find a pamphlet or something to print out about domestic violence, leave it in the bathroom stall, put it on the bathroom counter, go to your employers and ask, can we put something in the bathroom? If you're involved in domestic violence, here's the domestic violence hotline to put on the bathroom wall, but something, because you're seeing some signs that this person is upset in their spirit. And it may not be domestic violence. It could be something else, but I'd rather us be more cautious that is that than thinking it's nothing. And then that person didn't have a way to get help.
Right. And a lot of times the person don't even know that they are going through a domestic violence situation. They may see signs and everything, but don't even grasp the fact that they're going through that. How do we approach that situation? Because, I think there should be a way that people can be spoken to without knowing that they're spoken to. You see what I'm saying? Like, there should be more commercials on TV giving signs. They don't do that a lot, but there should be commercials on TV, on social media, especially social media, because everybody's on social media. There should be ads and stuff. Are you going through these different situations? This is abuse, blah, 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 blah. And then people will start being aware, like, wait a minute, this is what's happening to me. I feel like there should be more of that than all this other hobnob that's going on, because they quick to promote stuff to get paid, but they're not doing nothing to save lives. That just trips me out.
That goes back to the old mentality. What happens in your house stays in your house. That's why I said domestic violence is our business, but the mentality is not my business. For one, it's very shameful. So my thing is to, make it famous, like you said, everywhere, that we can remove the shame so that victims can come out and say, hey, I need help. Another very good point you made is that a lot of times even the person going through it themselves don't know it's domestic violence because it's their normal. It's part of their normal. It's part of what they've seen growing up. It's part of, what they believe, that if a man is, this way, they will, make that means they love me. My son, I have 2 granddaughters, and one of my son's mother is she has some toxic traits, and she does things just to provoke him to anger. And so because she feels that if she gets a reaction out of him, that means he really loves her. Back in the day, they used to say when a little boy hits you at school, that means he likes you. No, that means he want me to hit him back. Don't that mean? I stayed in trouble, honey. Listen, you hit me, I'm hitting you back. Listen, I may be little, but I'm not gonna let you hit on me. That was because I was tired of fighting. But I had a colleague who was in a 14-year abusive relationship. I mean, done guns drawn, pointed at her head, all kind of stuff. And she did not know that she was in an abusive relationship. And then also, let's add the component of I hit back. I hit him back. So I don't feel like it's an abusive relationship. It is, I fought back, so I defended myself. I got my lick back. Well, here's the thing. The definition of domestic violence is one's ability to gain and maintain power and control over you.
Right.
Period. If you ever got a question, am I in a domestic violence situation? Am I intimidated by this person because I may not do something they asked? Do I feel fear that if I don't get home on time, if I don't cook on time, that I'm going to be in trouble? If you have a yes to any of those, chances are you're in a domestic violence situation. I just gave those as examples. Now, for onlookers, for coworkers, and for family that don't necessarily know because they're so used to seeing the fighting, have some patience and understand no one gets up wanting to abuse, and no one gets up in the morning want to receive the abuse. It has just become the normal and how this relationship goes. So having some patience, and if you've seen something, if you suspect something, never go with judgment, but always going and saying, hey, I'm not sure this is happening to you, but you could use an example of somebody else. I know this person who's been, who came to work with bruises on them, and you could just make up a story, and that could open the door for that victim to say, well, I'm in that situation too, because you're making a safe place for them to talk. You have to make a safe place for them. When we come with this haughty, superwoman, powerful stuff, and all that is well. However, when we're talking to someone whose spirit has been broken, you got to come down a little bit with nothing but humanity, humility with them, and warmth to let them know that they're at a safe place that they can speak and share. So hopefully I gave you an idea of people that don't know that they're in an abusive relationship, and those that are watching it and they don't necessarily know how to respond to it.
Right. You know what? I appreciate you. And like when we talked earlier, I said this hour gonna go by quick. It's almost we got just a few minutes left. And the thing is, we can sit here and talk about this all night because I haven't gotten into the laws. There's a lot of other statistics and everything. We could be talking about this all night. I just think, this is something that people don't talk about enough. They isolate 1 month to this, to put it out there and to make it an awareness. But this is something that should be done every month of the year. As we just read earlier, and you said every 9 seconds, a woman is abused. Every 9 seconds. That's insane. And it's so much that's going on with domestic violence in the world today, all the way down to the children. 1 in 5 female high school students report being physically or sexually abused by a dating partner. All the way to our young kids. And, I'm raising a young girl, and and I would lose my mind if something was to happen to my daughter, so it scares me. I think about it, but I just have to prepare myself, because at the same time, I can't put myself in a position to where I can't take care of her if something was to happen to her then. Mm-hmm. I had a friend tell me that. Right. I had a friend tell me, they said, well, it's cool that you want to protect her, but don't put yourself in a position to where you can't protect her from then on. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I think that you loving her the way you do and showing her what love looks like, that's something we didn't talk about tonight, but what healthy relationships look like, that changes the dynamic and changes the patterns of it too. If we learn what healthy relationships look like, and if we're receiving the love at home, then when we grow up, we'll know what this is not that.
Right.
What how you treat me is not how my dad's treating me. A lot of us grew up without mothers and fathers, even if they physically were there, but because they was not emotionally there, and some of us having, bad childhoods, we grew up not knowing what love is supposed to look like. So
yeah, I always try, I always try to sit my daughter down and talk to her. I say, okay, listen, I want you to listen to me, okay? Because I don't even want to spank her because I don't want her to think that has to happen. It's so,
better get
it's so
them
weird.
legs.
It's so weird because, it's just crazy because as a father, you have to look at things totally different. And I just want her to always know, that I love her and that I got your back and I'm gonna be here for you, all that kind of stuff. One of the parents at school, I take her and drop her off at school in the morning. Every morning I get out and let her out the car. I open the door for her and let her out the car. I'm the only parent that does that. And one of the parents walked by and said, "You are a good dad." Like, you are a good dad. And I just said, look, I just want her to be treated like a queen, like a little princess, because eventually she's going to become a queen. And, I want whoever she deal with to respect her and stuff the same way that I had. So I feel like what we were saying earlier, how you treat your children now dictates how they are. You just said it, how they will be in the future, and it starts now, even with the boys. You teach them, hey, when you walk through that door, if you see a woman behind you, keep that door open. You know what I'm saying? If you got a little sister that's in school or an older sister in school, hey, you look out to check and make sure she all right. Just always look out for them. And so those little things in itself are things that I think make kids grow and to be better people and to understand and know what love truly is. So I appreciate you for saying that. That's my little heart there. But anyway, I don't want to get all in the rap, talk about her. How can people contact you, Rhonda? Because your organization is doing some amazing things. Everything you said today, I always wonder when it comes to the organizations how they approach situations. So I appreciate you for touching on that when a woman calls you in the situation, because there's so many things you got to look out for. You got to make sure it's a safe environment for yourself as well as for them. You got to understand their mindset and where they are in the situation. You got to understand the guy and what type of abuse he's placing on her. It's a whole bunch of different things that you have to go through before you can even take action to help her.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're getting screened when they're calling the mainstream organizations. I'm a grassroots, a one-woman show, small organization. But for the mainstream, the larger organizations, they go through a very extensive screening process as well. I used to didn't understand that, but now I get it.
Yeah.
For safety reasons, and they want to make sure that the people that they're helping needs it right then and there. But ways that you can reach me, you can go to rosatl.org. rosatl.org is our website. You can email us at info@rosatl.org, or you can follow me. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook at Rose of Sharon ATL. You can follow me on Instagram at Rhonda Anita _ and Rose of Sharon ATL on Instagram as well.
Thank you for that. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-SAFE. You can text SMART, SMART, to 888-788. That's SMART to 888-788. Also, you can go to www.thehotline.org, National Domestic Violence Hotline. or you can go to www.gcadv.org. That's the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence. You can call Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the GCADV, at 1-800-436-7442. Now, and also don't forget, you can always contact Rhonda at Rose of Sharon, www.rosatl.org. That's www.rosatl.org. And not to mention, always the quickest thing to do if it's a serious emergency, 911. Call 911 immediately. This was a great show. We can do we got to do this more, and we have to do it more because there's a lot going on when it comes to domestic violence. Like I said, we can talk about this forever because there are certain laws out there. Every state have their own take on domestic violence. I was reading that today. Some states are more serious than others. It's just the way it is. So Georgia is a state that is highly against domestic violence. That's why there are so many contacts, but there are national contact lines, like I just read to you guys, and there are local contact lines that I have read to you guys. So please, if you find yourself in any kind of situation that may look like it's a violent situation, or you feel like something is not normal that you've been going through, and if you're going through a situation that you deem is normal, but after hearing what we just said, you realize it's really not normal, call your local hotline or reach out to Rhonda here, Rose of Sharon. You can reach out to her on social media, Facebook. She just gave you all her information. In fact, Rhonda, I want you to go through and give it to everybody one more time.
So our website is rosatl.org. Our Instagram and Facebook is Rose with the E, ROSE, Rose of Sharon, SHARON ATL, on both Instagram and Facebook, or you can follow me at Rhonda Anita _ on Instagram. Facebook, my Facebook is kind of full, so.
All right, and I'm Wardell Richardson right here at WCEG The Hollywood of the South. You can always find me under my name, Wardell Richardson, on all social media platforms, and you can reach out to me and my team at WCEG, The Hollywood of the South. I got my own radio station. You can reach out to my team, which is me, Penny. We run that page, WCEG, The Hollywood of the South. Make sure you reach out to us if you need help in any kind of way. We can refer you to the people that can help. We can refer you to who can help you in these situations. It is very imperative that you understand what we talked about. If you know a friend, have a friend that's going through some stuff and you don't know who to reach out to, we just gave you a lot of information. Don't be afraid to call. I don't care if they say don't tell nobody. I don't care if, you don't feel like you don't want to get involved. You want to turn the cheek, you could be discreet and just make a call. You don't have to give your name or anything. They will never know. But don't hesitate to reach out and call and get help. Right, Rhonda?
That's right.
There's no shame in needing help at all. And this is Wardell Richardson, right here on WCEG Hollywood of the South, signing out. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you, Rhonda, for coming on to the show.
Thank you.